Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, iRacing fans from around the world, welcome to our monthly Race for Pad 266 here with KMA Racing and Pad, People Against Distracted Driving. Now tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to spend a lot of time talking about Pad, what Pad is, what Pad stands for. We're going to tell you the story of Nikki Kaleny and why Mom and Dad Kaleny do what they do. A big shout out there to Mike Kaleny. And when we're done with tonight's race, we hope you to go and visit the website at www.padd.org. And this is our monthly Race for Pad, brought to you by Pad and KMA Racing. Drivers right now are out there on that track qualifying. Talking a little bit about that track, we are sitting at Talladega, 2.6 mile speedway. And a speedway it is. We are driving the Chevy Silverados and the Toyota Tundras. We've got some really great weather out here. The drivers have been out here for the last hour or so practicing, getting warmed up, getting out here, pushing the boundaries a little bit, if you will, trying to get the best they can out of the vehicles and out of one another. So hopefully with a little bit of luck and a whole lot of talent, we're going to see some long green flag runs out here tonight in our monthly Race for Pad. We've got some big names out here tonight. We've got Billy Wise coming in for Loose Lugnuts, Mark Jackson on that track. We've got Gary Whitmer Jr. I want to give a big shout out there to Gary Whitmer Jr. for that brand new, hot out of the video shop, great pad video we were just watching on our introductions. So a big shout out there to Gary Whitmer Jr. of GW Graphics. Always good to see Gary. We've got Gary Sr. out here. We've got our old timer, Ivan Garcia, big fan of Pad. We've got Jack Watts with Southeast Motorsports and one of our sponsors coming out tonight to play, and that'll be Jason Russo. So a big shout out to all the drivers. Not a huge field, not a small field, just about the right size field for these drivers to get out here and have a good night tonight. Qualifying just about over, and qualifying out here on that speedway, very important out here on the super speedways. You want to get out there in front, you want to stay in the front, especially if you're predicting a caution-free race. You know, you factor in the cautions, you factor in pit stops. A lot of factors are out here, but you really want to be out there in the front, starting in the front, because that'll put you into pit row first. That'll put you out of pit row first, and you want to stay up there in first place, trying to lead 100 laps out here tonight on that super speedway. Not going to happen, probably. Can't recall a time that it has ever happened, but we'll see how they do tonight. If you got a favorite driver out here, let me know throughout the night. I know we'll have the cameras locked up on Gary Whitmer Jr. quite a bit tonight, and we're going to see a whole lot of custom paint jobs out here tonight, supporting Pad, supporting Nikki Kaleny, supporting the whole don't drive distracted idea. Something very important to the drivers over at KMA Racing. Want to give a big shout out there to the fans. We've got Becky Whitmer out there tonight, coming out to root on her husband Gary and her son Gary Whitmer Jr., which we were just talking about. So a big shout out there to Mom Whitmer as well. Drivers are lining up, and we're going to take a quick look at the starting field out there on that front line. We've got Edward Bray in the number 66 with a 53.549, side by side with the number 3 of Mark Jackson. Mark pulling down a 53.562. Donald Stewart sitting back in third position. Chris Hogue up there in fourth position. Good job there, Chris Hogue. Back in fifth, we've got Lee Staples. Michael Johnson sitting back in 6th position. Jack Watts takes up the 8th position. Gary Whitmer in 7th. Jack Watts sitting back in 8th. Ben Gear in 9th position tonight. And rounding out our top 10, we have got Johnny Woodruff. Position 11 belonging to Gary Whitmer Jr. David Casia back in 12th. Jason Russo sitting in 13th. Ivan Garcia back into 14th position. Billy Wise sitting back in 16th. John Henderson, Lee Ryerson Jr., 17th and 18th tonight. Joel Guy, Kevin Scott Nelson, 19th and 20th. Back in the rear of the field and starting in that last position, we've got Brad Harris. All right, so we are looking at about a 20-truck field out here. Like I said, not a huge field, not an incredibly small field, just about the right number of drivers to hopefully go 100 laps of green flag racing in our monthly Race 4 pad. Pace car beginning to pull out, get things going tonight. Edward Bray leaving a little bit of rubber on that track as he puts his truck into gear. Drivers are looking at about a 30-lap fuel load, 32 at best, and you're going to need to be doing a whole lot of pushing and pulling in that draft to pull 32 laps. So we're looking at about a lap system of 31.62, and then a top off about a third of a tank. And that is if we go green flag. Not thinking we're going to go green flag tonight. Certainly hope so, but just not sure that that is going to happen. Edward Bray, Mark Jackson side by side getting ready to kick things off in our monthly Race 4 pad. Edward Bray, one of my favorite drivers. Mark Jackson, another one of my favorite drivers. Expect a lot out of both of these drivers tonight. Neither driver no stranger to victory lane, even in a pad race. Mark Jackson winning a couple of pad races, I do believe. Edward Bray pulling out the purple to support the favorite color of Nikki Clenny. And tonight, ladies and gentlemen, it is all about Nikki and pad. That's what these drivers are racing for, to bring some awareness and some education about the dangers of distracted driving. Nikki Clenny's life ended way too early due to a distracted driver. No fault of her own. Nikki in the back seat, driver chose to pick up the cell phone.
Green flag. Everybody's rolling.
We are off, ladies and gentlemen. 100 laps. Mark Jackson, very powerful on that outside lane. Being pushed on by the number 6 of Chris Hogue. Edward Bray down on the inside. Hooking up with the number 78 of Donald Stewart. It'll take these trucks just about 3/4 of a lap to get up to their full speeds of 192 miles per hour, 193, 194 at absolute best. Had a good race out here last night. Saw a lot of 3 wide. Chris Hogue looking like he was already wanting to go 3 wide early. We're going to see that 3 wide out here tonight. That 3 wide, as we know, can get us all in a world of hurt. Field already starting to spread away. Got a couple of stragglers back there near the rear of the field. Joel Guy back into the rear of the field, along with Brad Harris, Dave Acacia. Kevin Scott Nelson off to a bad start in tonight's race, 23 seconds back. Not sure what happened there in the rear on the start, but Kevin Scott Nelson, Lee Ryerson Jr., Ivan Garcia, all getting into a little bit of trouble on the start. William Wise, Dave Acacia. Dave Acacia hanging on for dear life, trying to get up to the rear end of the number 24 of Brad Harris. Right now, Kevin and Lee praying for that early caution. Won't take much for these drivers to go. One lap down here at Talladega, flying around this 2.6 mile speedway on their own. You don't want to be alone out here, folks. It can be as much as a 10 to 12 mile per hour difference when you're alone, as opposed to working with somebody in draft. This front pack will leave you. Jack Watson, the number 77, showing his Sport 4 pad in the back of that Silverado. Going to be 3 wide. 3 wide with Chris Hogue. Chris Hogue up into that high side. Jack Watts, Ben Gear coming by. Joel Guy through the middle. Jason Russo down onto that inside. Joel Guy, room to go down, but Joel opting to stay into the middle. Gap is closing with Jason Russo. Joel Guy coming down. Joel Guy down in front of the number 14 of Jason Russo. And folks, I promised you that we'd be talking a little bit about Nikki Clenny and her story. As I mentioned a few minutes ago, she was in the back seat of her friend's car, and the friend chose to pick up the cell phone while the car was rolling, while the car was driving. Very irresponsible decision that unfortunately cost an innocent backseat passenger her life. Upon that situation arising, her father, Mike Clenny, decided that more needed to be done. And he began a legal war against distracted driving. He created PAD, People Against Distracted Driving, sending out a very strong message about the dangers of distracted driving. PADD.org if you'd like to help out, send a donation. Wristbands are available, t-shirts, bumper stickers. A lot of things going on, and we've got Edward Bray off that track. Edward Bray in trouble. The 24 Harris up into the wall. We've got danger. We've got danger. Ladies and gentlemen, we are green flag racing. That'll divide up that pack. You know what? I want to go back and look at that. Edward Bray goes down. This is on the replay. How they kept it together, I do not know. But Edward Bray falling seriously further back than what he wanted to be. Edward Bray was leading that lap and has fallen all the way to the rear of the field. Back up on live action. Ladies and gentlemen, almost the big one. They're on lap 4. Well, I tell you what, that is indeed a bummer there for Edward Bray. Edward Bray taking that pole position tonight. A little bit of tap on that apron, sending Edward Bray sideways, and Edward Bray ending up in 14th position by himself. More 3-wide action going on mid-pack. But now what we've had happen we've got two very distinct packs. Now the good news is, with two distinct packs, the chances of caution-free racing are going to be a little bit better. But if this second pack catches that first pack, we're back to one big pack, increasing the chances of that caution. Jack Watts, Mark Jackson, Donald Stewart, Lee Staples, and Ben Gear, positions 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Big shout out there to Mark Jackson and Jack Watts. Mark Jackson started out second position tonight. John Henderson has caught that pack. Now we've got a 6 on 3 on 3. I'm thinking they're going to catch one another. Gary Whitmer Jr. sitting in 7th position in the number 5 tonight. Talking about Nicky Clenny. We're going to take a look at some of these vehicles out here tonight. Gary Whitmer showing his support for Nicky Clenny in the purple, with the purple rims. Awesome. Number 4 up top in the Angels Never Die. Ben Gear showing his support for Nicky Clenny. Donald Stewart down on that inside. Lee Staples in the number 64, side by side with the number 111 of John Henderson. John Henderson, Ben Gear getting closer to Mark Jackson and Jack Watts. Jack Watts leading his 4th lap of the night. Mark Jackson up a little bit. Mark Jackson going for the pass. 3 wide for the lead. Ben Gear, Mark Jackson, Jack Watts. We have got a race out here tonight, ladies and gentlemen. John Henderson back onto the rear end of the number 4 of Ben Gear. Going to get a little bit dicey up here, ladies and gentlemen, as we are coming up on lap traffic. Now we are 3 wide coming up on lap traffic. Gonna be a shocker up here. We could be seeing 4 wide. Ben Gear up on that high side. Mark Jackson in the middle. Ben Gear coming down into the middle as we pass the 3 wide, the slower traffic. Very nice. Very nice, ladies and gentlemen. Drivers are showing their focus out here tonight. 3 wide on a much slower vehicle. No casualties. That is the way it is done. Gary Whitmer Jr. in 7th position. Still with that lead pack. Jason Russo, Dave Casey, 8th and 9th, and Gary Whitmer Sr. rounding out our top 10 tonight. Gary Whitmer side by side with the number 91 of Joel Guy and the number 6 of Chris Hogue. Passing the number 224 of Kevin Scott Nelson, easing down. Drivers showing that purple again. Love the purple out here in these pad races. David Casey working with his teammate, the number 14 of Jason Russo. I'm going to give a big shout out there to Pro Automotive out of Dudley, Massachusetts. Jason Russo, our Tuesday night sponsor. Jason Russo cruising around at 188 miles per hour, running a fast lap of a 49.598, pretty fast. No laps led, side by side with the 05 of Gary Whitmer, pushing onto the rear end of the number 111 of John Henderson. Mark Jackson, Jack Watts leading lap 12 of 100. In-car camera with Gary Whitmer Jr. Gary Whitmer started 11th position tonight, currently is in 8th, up 3 spots. Looking at a little bit of rear end damage on Lee Staples in the number 64, not affecting the maneuvering of the number 64. But still, Gary Whitmer not looking like he's going to get too close onto that rear end. In-car camera with John Henderson. Now, John started back in 17th, a little farther back in that pack. Currently is in 6th positions. And we're going to be 3 wide with slower traffic one more time. Look like it's going to happen about 1 and 2. Be coming out of 2 when we counter the slower traffic. Double file. We'll be 3 wide momentarily, and we are 3 wide with the number 72 of Ivan Garcia. Ivan Garcia allowing very safe passage, but noticeably slower up into that high lane. Ivan dropping down, trying to grab onto the draft of the number 20 of Dave Acacia. Ivan getting no love out there on this track. Mark Jackson in lead, leading his 4th lap of the night. 3 wide with 111 in the number 4. Number 4 liking that outside lane, but can't find anybody to go with him up there on that high side. Checking on a few of our other drivers, we've got Michael Johnson back into 13th position. Edward Bray back in 14th position. Both of these drivers running solo. Brad Harris in the number 24. Gary Whitmer Sr., number 52, back in 17th. William Wise started out 16th position, upping his spot 2 spots to 14th. Looks like William Wise is going to get a whole lot of help coming up onto the rear end of William. Once Mark does pass William Wise, that will put William Wise 1 lap down. But still doing a great job out here. But unfortunately, this lead lap now being led by John Henderson. Well, Billy and Ed, they're both going to get swallowed and devoured by the much faster traffic being led by John Henderson and Mark Jackson. Edward and William up high. Now I tell you what, this is good stuff though, because Billy and Ed, they've got a duo going on. They need to get hooked up. They need to get tight. They need to get bumper to bumper, nose to tail. They do this, and they will be able to catch this lead pack, hang on to it. If the caution does come out, they need to stay out, take their free pass, and they'll be back up. Yep, they'll be back on that lead lap. Joel Guy, Lee Ryerson Jr., Kevin Scott Nelson, 1 lap down as well. So we've got Ivan, Edward, William, Lee, Kevin Scott, Gary Whitmer, Brad Harris, Chris Hogue, all 1 lap down early on. Big action up front. These drivers have come to play tonight. Lap 18 of 182 to go. 6 lead changes, 0 cautions out here tonight. Mark Jackson putting on quite the show out here tonight. Mark Jackson hooked up with Jack Watts on that inside lane. Jack Watts up to second position. Donald Stewart back to fourth, side by side with the 111 of John Henderson and the number 14 of Jason Russo. Number 64, Lee Staples, rear end damage and all, still in tow. And we have got Edward Bray has caught that tail end. Almost. Double file action up in front. Gary Whitmer Jr. on the tail end of this pack, working with the number 4 of Ben Gear. Pad will be having their yearly walk with Pad this month, I do believe, in June. More information at www.padd.org. David Casey in the number 20. Recent winner here with KMA Racing on a speedway race. I do believe it was Thursday at Daytona. Big shout out there to Dave Acacia. Getting a little bit of push from the number 4 of Ben Gear. Ben Gear and the Angels Never Die. Big shout out there too, over the top paints and designs, supplying up a lot of the paint jobs you're looking at tonight. John Hedrick and Billy Wise. Billy Wise getting his paintbrush wet several times. Mark Jackson, Jack Watts leading out here tonight. 111 of John Henderson on that outside lane. I tell you what, boys, you're going to have to get it 3 wide if you want to pass out here at Talladega. You're going to have to get it going 3 wide. Right now, everybody content to stay with the double file. Becky Whitmer saying that Michelle Gary and Becky are going with Gary Jr. to the walk with Pat. That is pretty awesome stuff right there. We've got 2 of our fans and 2 of our competitors that are going to get up there and do the walk with Pad with Mike Lenny. It's pretty awesome stuff. Up to 7 lead changes as Mark and John just battle it out side by side. Jason Russo up to 3rd position. Momentarily had 2nd. Jack Watts back to 4th. Big shout out there to Michelle McMaster Eisenhower, huge supporter of Pad, People Against Distracted Driving. Doing her part out there in Arizona to educate the people about the dangers of distracted driving. And you know, there's a lot of states out there that have never heard of Pad. It is slowly moving its way westward, if you will. Certainly could use your help in spreading the word about Pad to those that don't know about Pad. Easy way to do that would be go to the Pad website and get a t-shirt or a wristband. And I guarantee you somebody will ask you, what is pad? Great way to open up a conversation about safe driving. John Henderson getting that lead over Mark Jackson. John Henderson on the inside lane. Mark Jackson up on that outside lane. David Casey in fourth place, putting on one good show. Donald Stewart hanging on for dear life. Now we've got three-pack of Lee Staples, Ivan Garcia, and Joel Guy trying to run down this front 8-truck pack. Lap 25 of 100 here in about 5 more laps. We're going to hopefully be seeing some green flag pit stops. That would be pretty awesome. Ivan Garcia, Lee Staples. The 117 of John Woodruff. John Woodruff actually 3 laps down. Still looking for that caution to come out. John Woodruff hanging off the tail end of that lead pack. 64 bouncing the apron just a hair. Lap 26 of 100. In-car camera with Lee Staples. Lee painted up this car for his wife, this truck. For his wife, Karen. Lee ever closer to the rear end of Donald Stewart, but Lee and Donald going into pit road. We've got green flag pit stops for Lee Staples and Donald Stewart. Lee Staples with Black Talon Racing. Now that's pretty smart right there. Lee and Donald Stewart making sure that they got in and out of pit row early. They were the first ones to get into pit row. We'll have to see how that works. Donald and Lee making their way in and out of pit row very safely, no penalties. So Donald and Lee, a little bit of a game plan out here. Well, we know who's working with who right now. Jason Russo, David Casia, first and second. Mark Jackson into pit row. Now we have definitely got green flag pit stops coming on. Mark Jackson sitting in pit row. Jason Russo, David Casia leading currently. They may be the next drivers in and out of pit row. Jason Russo, David Casia, John Henderson. 1, 2, and 3. Jack Watts, Ben Gear. Gary Whitmer Jr. sitting in 6th position. Jason and Dave taking it to the limit. Going to get as much fuel out of these Chevy Silverados as possible. Unfortunately, Johnny Woodruff 3 laps down. Brad Harris 2 laps down. Edward Bray 2 laps down as well. William Wise, Kevin Scott Nelson, Gary Whitmer, Michael Johnson all 2 laps down. Joel Guy, Ivan Garcia 1 lap down, and here we go. That's a ton of truck heading down pit row. David Casey, Jason Russo, John Henderson, Jack Watts making their way into pit row. Gary Whitmer Jr., pit row as well. David Casey, first driver out of pit row. And away they go. That will put David Casey leading his first lap of the night. David Casey's got some help from Jason Russo. And the 111 of John Henderson. Unfortunately, it looks like it may have left Ben Gear a little bit stranded out there. Gary Whitmer Jr. trying to get up to the rear end of Ben Gear to give Ben a bit of a hand. But Dave, Jason, and John, they have got quite the jump out there. These drivers have got to get hooked up nose to tail, bumper to bumper, as soon as possible. And Gary and Ben are hooked up. Jack Watts hanging on for dear life in 6th position. Would definitely be to the advantage of Gary and Ben to allow Jack Watts to get up there too. To the rear end. 3 trucks will go faster than 2. You know, Jack Watts got it nailed down to the floor. But I tell you what, there is a 2-second lead between 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, and 4th, 5th, and 6th. And it does not look like Gary and Ben are going to give any love to the number 77 of Jack Watts. 2 nice looking pad trucks right there, side by side, or actually nose to tail. Do not believe that Ben and Gary are going to catch 1st, 2nd, and 3rd position. They are just rocketing on. Jason Russo trying to stay as tight onto the rear end of David Casey as that of which he possibly can. Lee Staples in 9th position without a partner. Joel Guy, Lee Ryerson. Edward Bray, straight line formation, trying to make up a little bit of time. Picking up Kevin Scott Nelson in the number 224. Michael Johnson in this pack as well. Mark Jackson being pushed on by Brad Harris and Donald Stewart. Mark Jackson currently in 6th position, about 3 seconds back off of our race leader. Mark Jackson going side by side with Gary Whitmer and Ben Gear. This is the monthly race for Pad 266, 100 miles of Talladega. And a whole lot of conversation about Pad, people against distracted driving. Many ways you can make sure you are not distracted. Put the phone in the trunk. Put it underneath the seat. Sit on it. Turn it off. Ben Gear going for a spin. Hang on to her, Ben Gear. No caution will fly. Take another look at that. I'm going to see what happened to Ben Gear. But indeed, Ben Gear. Watch number 4, and there it is right there, ladies and gentlemen. A little bit of tap there by the 05. Ben Gear going for a ride. Great job, though, of Ben Gear keeping it out there. No caution. Ben Gear taking it into pit row. That'll mix things up just a little bit. Dave Casia, John Henderson, Jason Russo, positions 1, 2, and 3. Positions 1, 2, and 3 by 2.5 seconds off of Mark Jackson, Donald Stewart. In the lap traffic of the number 24 of Brad Harris. Gary Whitmer Jr. sitting in 6th position. Jack Watts back in 7th. Coming on fast to the number 4 of Ben Gear. Ben Gear not interested in getting a push from the number 77 of Jack Watts. Maybe Ben Gear wanting to do the pushing. A lot of drivers out here right now really wanting that caution, but I tell you what, if we can go caution free, that would be pretty darn awesome. About 20 laps out of our next fuel window. Gary Whitmer Sr. 1 lap down, working with Ivan Garcia 1 lap down as well. Edward Bray, Joel Guy, Kevin Scott Nelson, Lee Ryerson Jr., Michael Johnson, nice pack of drivers right here. All drivers 1 lap down, riding along straight line formation. Lee Ryerson started 18th tonight, currently in 14th. As we know, Edward Bray started first. Unfortunate victim of an apron. And Edward Bray 1 lap down in 13th position. Kevin Scott Nelson upping his position by 2 to 18th, but 2 laps down. Lee Ryerson started 18th, currently in 14th, so he's going in the right direction as well. Billy Wise started 16th, currently is in 16th. Onto the rear end of Michael Johnson. Michael Johnson running for AAA Motorsports, showing his support for PAD and PSI. Billy Wise a little bit in danger possibly of losing the draft. There he goes. He's got it back. He's got it back. You got to stay in that draft. You lose the draft over here at Talladega, you're pretty much damned. That is something you just cannot do. You cannot lose that draft. Billy Wise in danger of losing that draft. He's got to get back up there too, Michael Johnson. Is Michael Johnson going to throw a line out there too? Billy Wise. Edward Bray all over the rear end of the number 91 of Joel Guy. Pushing as hard as he possibly can. Back up to the front. Donald Stewart. Jason Russo. First and second position. Donald Stewart actually being pushed on by the number 24 of Brad Harris. Brad Harris 2 laps down on lap 44 of 100. Almost to the halfway point in our monthly Race 4 pad. Mark Jackson hanging on to that lead pack, sitting in a very solid fourth place position. Gary Whitmer leading the second pack, sitting in fifth. Gary Whitmer, David Casia, Jack Watts, 5th, 6th, and 7th. About 8 seconds off of this front pack, being led by Donald Stewart and Jason Russo. And I tell you what, right now they're very glad they've got the lap traffic of Brad Harris up there with them. Brad Harris 2 laps down. But Brad has been doing a phenomenal job up here. He knows he's not racing the leaders directly right now. He's just trying to be get a little toe around this track. He's got a clean truck. He's as fast as the leaders, not causing any problems. Just trying to find his way around Talladega. Donald Stewart leading 5 laps tonight. Jason Russo leading 2. John Henderson has led 7. Mark Jackson, our big leader of the night, leading 13 laps. And Dave and Jack have both led 9. Edward Bray led 2, the first 2, and then unfortunately found himself in a little bit of trouble. Brad Harris making his way in for a green flag pit stop. Brad Harris in the number 24 tonight. Gary and company have picked up a 1 second off of that 8-second deficit down to 7.1. So right now, Gary, Dave, and Jack are making time, doing their best to catch up to Donald Stewart, Jason Russo, John Henderson, and Mark Jackson. Mark Jackson driving the over-the-top paints and design, stars and stripes tucked up onto the 111 of John Henderson. Jason Russo taking no chances of turning the number 78. Staying well off the rear end of Donald Stewart, he is. Mark Jackson much tighter onto the rear end of the 111. A little bit of contact there. I spoke too soon. A little bit of contact there between the 14 and the 78. You got to be careful in these Silverados and Tundras. As we saw early on with contact with the number 5, you touch them in the wrong spot, and I tell you what, they can go for a ride. Donald Stewart leading his 8th lap of tonight. We are at the halfway point. About 10 laps out of a, hopefully another green flag instead of pit stops. That'd be pretty cool. But I tell you what, in the meantime, we're going to flash up a couple of commercials. I want to show you that pad commercial one more time. That's brought to you by GW Graphics. We are back, ladies and gentlemen. Big shout out there to PAD, People Against Distracted Driving. This is our monthly race for Pad 266. Brought to you by Pad and KMA Racing on the first Sunday of every month. We are caution free. 54 laps in the books. 12 lead changes. Donald Stewart, Jason Russo, John Henderson. Positions 1, 2, and 3. Mark Jackson sitting in 4th. Number 32, William Wise, 2 laps down. He has grabbed onto the rear end of this lead pack. Going to pick up a little bit of speed, try to get those 2 laps back. It's not impossible. He needs caution. He needs the lucky dog. He needs free pass. Few factors involved in order to make all that happen. Currently, Ben Gear, though, Ben Gear will be in line for that lucky dog. Ben Gear, 1 lap down. Ben Gear working with the number 77 of Jack Watts. The number 20 of Dave Acacia. The 05 of Gary Whitmer Sr. Or Gary Whitmer Jr. Gary Whitmer Jr. in 5th place. 4 seconds back off of our race leader. Mark Jackson, Donald Stewart into pit row. This may pay off for Mark and Donald. Donald out first, Mark tight on his heels. Still need one more pit stop at this rate. We're looking at about lap 87, lap 88. If they stretch it out. Or they can go in early on lap 70 and be good to go. You got to remember, 30 laps is what they need. Gary Whitmer Jr., 2.6 seconds off of our race leaders. And I tell you what, they are coming, and they are coming hard. That is the 05 of Gary Whitmer, the number 20 of Dave Acacia, the number 77 of Jack Watts. Got it down to 2 seconds. Jason Russo, John Henderson right now noticeably slower with the loss of that 3rd vehicle. And this 4-pack is going to catch our race leader. Gary Whitmer in 3rd position right now. And he is tasting the exhaust being put out by our 2nd place driver, John Henderson, down to 1.3, 1.2. Gary Whitmer Jr., David Acacia, Jack Watts, with the help of the number 4 of Ben Gear, 1 lap down, will, without a doubt, catch Jason Russo. Past the slower traffic up, Billy Wise in the number 32. In-car camera with Gary Whitmer Jr. coming up on those leaders. Gary Whitmer Jr. in the middle lane. Gary Whitmer Jr., he wants that lead. falls back in line behind the number 20. Gary Whitmer Jr. down to 4th position. David Casey out to 3rd. Well, come on, boys. Let's go for a pass. John Henderson pushing the number 14 of Jason Russo for everything he is worth. Gary Whitmer beginning to get tucked up onto the rear end of the number 20 of David Casey. Jack Watts hanging on for dear life off of the rear end of the 05. Green flag pit stops for our race leaders. Jason Russo, David Casey, John Henderson. We got one in the grass. Unfortunately, that was Jason Russo. Jason Russo going for a ride. It's definitely going to hurt the night of Jason Russo. David Casey, Jack Watts, John Henderson, Ben Gear, Gary Whitmer all out of pit row. And Jason Russo having to take a little bit more time in pit row. That spin hurt him. That spin hurt him bad. We are caution free here at our monthly race 4 pad. Lap 62 of 100. Drivers are going to be about 8 laps short of the green flag finish here. They're going to have to stop the fuel one more time. Now for Dave and company, they've got some options right here. Having just pitted, if they drain that tank, they're going to be looking at lap 92, meaning to go into pit row. Or they can go in here in about 7 more laps, fill it up, top it off, and they'll be good to go. You got to remember, 30 laps on that fuel window, and with caution-free racing, that's where it's all going to come into play. Big shot out there to Kristen Phillips. I have to get down there and check on Mark Jackson. Mark Jackson right now in 5th position. Started out there tonight in 2nd position. Has run a really, really good race tonight. I think it's going to come down to some fuel strategy right now. Mark Jackson working with Michael Johnson. Michael Johnson, unfortunately, 2 laps down. Mark Jackson, 3.8 seconds off of our race leader, Dave Casey. Jason Russo getting a hand from Billy Wise. Jason Russo sitting at 13 seconds back. Now you got to remember, Jason Russo was up there in that lead pack, but when he went into pit row, got into the dirt, spun the Silverado, and that pretty much has cost him 13.7 seconds. But fortunately, he's got some help with the number 32 of William Wise. Race leader Dave Casey leading his 13th lap out here at Talladega. in the race 4 pad, 266. Lap 65 of 100, 35 to go, 14 lead changes, and we are caution free. Gary Whitmer Jr. sitting in 3rd position. Ben Gear 1 lap down, and the Angels never die. Ben being a trooper, Ben trying to help out the 05. Jack Watts in the number 77. Jack Watts in 4th position. So we've got 5 trucks. We've got 4 that are on the lead lap. Ben Gear in the number 4, the odd man out. Ben more than happy to help out anybody he can. Right now, Ben Gear going to give a hand to Jack Watts. As it appears, they're going to do some double foul racing. Ben Gear, Jack Watts on that outside lane, moving on up. Side by side with 111, Dave Casey leading the show tonight. Ben Gear, Jack Watts trying to get around the inside lane. Now it's very important that Ben Gear does this because Ben Gear needs to get around the number 20 to be on that lead lap. Right now, what he's doing, right now, technically, if the caution were to fly, right now, Ben Gear is on that lead lap. But once the number 20 passes the number 4, well, then he's down 1 lap. So Ben Gear, he's really got to stay in front of our leader. And right now, Jack Watts, knowing that, is giving Ben Gear everything he's got. Might be an idea for Ben Gear if given the opportunity to drop down in front of Dave Casey. One more attempt for Ben Gear on that outside lane. In-car camera with Jack Watts giving Ben Gear everything he has got. Ben Gear 1 lap down, needing to get in front of the number 20. Can Jack get him clear? He's got him clear. Will he drop? Will he drop? Ben Gear not dropping. I myself, I would have dropped right there down in front of the number 20. They both drop. They both drop. Good job to those two drivers. And that'll put Jack Watts leading lap 70 of 100. That is how it is done, ladies and gentlemen. And right now, Ben Gear no longer 1 lap down. But if the number 77 passes Ben Gear, that'll put him 1 lap down. So Ben Gear right now really hoping for a caution. If that caution comes out, he gets to completely keep the hammer down all the way around the tail end of the field, and he'll be back on that lead lap. Right now, Jack Watts leading lap 70, and we are at our pit window. Wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing some more green flag pit stops here at Talladega. Taking a quick look at our running order: Jack Watts, David Casey, John Henderson, Gary Whitmer Jr. Our top 4 drivers in that straight line formation. Mark Jackson in 5th place, about 8.5 back. Jason Russo, Joel Guy, Ben Gear. Well, Ben Gear's up here at the very front. And then we've got Donald Stewart, Lee Ryerson Jr. 2 laps down. Edward Bray, Gary Whitmer Sr., Ivan Garcia, Lee Staples, Michael Johnson. Billy Wise, 2 laps down. Brad Harris, 2 down. Johnny Woodruff, Chris Hogue out for the night with mechanical difficulties. Lee Ryerson side by side with Jason Russo. Jason Russo sitting in 6th position. Joel Guy sitting in 7th. Unfortunately, 17 seconds behind our race leader. Still some good racing going on out here tonight. Donald Stewart showing his support for pad in the number 78. Nice paint job there. Lee Ryerson Jr. in the Mountain Dew Napa Auto Parts number 18 on that outside lane. Getting a push from the number 91 of Joel Guy showing his support for pad, along with the number 66 of Edward Bray. Edward Bray in 11th, 1 lap down. Close contact between the number 18 and the number 91. 18 up high, losing momentum. Edward Bray onto the rear end of the number 91. Lap 75 of 100 in our monthly Race 4 pad. Caution free. Unbelievable, ladies and gentlemen. Very impressed with the caliber of driver in our room tonight. Jack Watts out there in front leading his 15th lap of the night. Jack content with leaving Ben Gear up in front. Ben Gear's not a threat to Jack Watts. Ben Gear's just trying to stay up on that lead lap, not causing any problems. Jack Watts, David Casey, John Henderson, and Gary Whitmer Jr. Our top 4 drivers. A little bit of a flutter there on Jack Watts. Jack Watts having some quality issues. Seems like he's brought it back. These 5 drivers perfectly content riding around in single line formation. No real challenging going on. Working together is a very finely oiled machine. Gary Whitmer Jr. in 4th place, very content to hang out where he's at. Mark Jackson 8 seconds back, working with Michael Johnson. Michael Johnson 2 laps down. Mark Jackson 9 seconds back from Gary Whitmer Jr. Jason Russo sitting in 6th position. Joel Guy in the number 91 in 7th. Kevin Scott Nelson, Donald Stewart in the 224 and the number 78. 1 lap down, Kevin Scott Nelson 2 laps down. Again, straight line formation. Nobody really interested in challenging one another, knowing this race is going to come down to one more round of green flag pit stops. Anything can happen in pit row. Very possible that our race leader, Jack Watts, goes into pit row and gets a penalty, and that would ruin his win for the night. There's still a possibility Mark Jackson could win this tonight. Jason Russo, Ben Gear even. It is still anybody's game. Lee Staples in the black Talon, number 64. 1 lap down, riding along solo. As we mentioned earlier, solo at the Speedway is not where you want to be. Mark Jackson, Michael Johnson, I'm thinking they might be setting up for a pit. They dropped way to the back of this straight line freight train. Drivers could very easily be thinking about pit row. Jack Watts leading his 20th lap of the night. This will be a very special win for Jack Watts. The dangers of distracted driving always on Jack's mind. Jack is a motorcycle rider, much like Edward Bray and several of our teammates. And, you know, when you're on the motorcycle, when you're in the car, you got some protection. When you're out there on that bike, you got no protection. Dave Acacia leading his 17th lap of the night. Ben Gear doing everything he can to stay ahead of these leaders. Again, if Dave or Jack get around the number 4 of Ben Gear, that will put Ben Gear 1 lap down. So it is critical for Ben Gear to stay out here in front as long as he possibly can. Ben Gear in 8th place. Our race leader, Dave Acacia, is side by side. So 8th place is side by side with 1st place. A little bit of a rarity. It happens. Lap 82 of 118 to go. John Henderson pushing the number 20 around Ben Gear. Gary Whitmer going in tow. He's loose. He's loose. John Henderson backing off. Good save by David Casia. That'll give that inside lane the run that they needed to get Ben Gear back up there into a safe place. That'll give Gary Whitmer the inside position for second place. Good job, Gary Whitmer Jr. Gary started out tonight in 11th position, has worked his way up to second. Now I tell you what, that would be super special to Gary Whitmer Jr. to win tonight's pad race. Gary Whitmer Jr., one of the biggest promoters of pad, People Against Distracted Driving. We've got action. We've got 3 wide action. And that will put Ben Gear 1 lap down. Tough break there for Ben Gear. Tell you what, he had been doing such a great job up there. Dave Casey and John Henderson, 1 and 2. Jack Watts, Gary Whitmer Jr., positions 3 and 4. Passing the lap traffic of the number 64, Lee Staples. Lap 85 of 115 to go. Appears Dave Case is going to drain this tank out here tonight. Going to take a run through our field one more time for you. We've got Dave Casia up here in front with John Henderson, Jack Watts, Gary Whitmer Jr. positions 1, 2, 3, and 4. 4 seconds back, we've got Jason Russo, Mark Jackson, Joel Guy. In this 6-pack, we've only got 3 drivers on that lead lap. Jason Russo, Mark Jackson on the outside, Joel Guy in the inside, side by side with Edward Bray. Edward Bray, 1 lap down. Kevin Scott Nelson, 2 laps down. Donald Stewart, 1 lap down. And the number 18, 1 lap down. Michael Johnson sitting in 14th position, 2 laps down, hanging on for dear life. Gary Whitmer Jr., Ivan Garcia sitting in 15th and 16th, riding along with Brad Harris. Brad Harris 4 laps down. And we've got William Wise still in it to win it, position 17th, unfortunately 2 laps down. But I'll tell you what, good to see Billy out here tonight. Came with a positive attitude. Came with the right colors. Came with a friendly face and a firm handshake. So a big shout out there too. Not only Billy, but all the drivers out here tonight. All the race fans coming out to root on their drivers, their favorite drivers, and their family members. I know Becky's very excited right now. Gary Whitmer putting on a big show right now in 4th place. But I tell you what, it's going to come down to green flag pit stops. That is exactly what it is going to come down to. David Casey leading 23 laps tonight. Jack Watts leading 22. 18 lead changes. 88 laps in the books. Not sure that Dave can go many more laps before having that green flag pit stop. He's not going to make it to the end. Gary Whitmer Jr. having to make that pit stop. In and out of pit stop. He's got Ben Gear with him. So that's good. Gary Whitmer Jr. after that pit stop falling to 6th place. So I tell you what, Dave, John, and Jack, they are going for broke. As they come around, Mark Jackson, they will put Mark Jackson 1 lap down. Mark Jackson, first driver, 1 lap down, being put down by Dave. Mark Jackson in 7th position. Gary Whitmer Jr. back up to 5th. Jason Russo in 4th. Dave, John, and Jack, lap 90. They are pushing the boundaries on the fuel. Mark Jackson trying to get the draft off of the number 77 of Jack Watts. Nine laps to go. Dave Casey leading 26 laps out here tonight. One more time by pit row. I don't know, maybe they know something I don't. A little bit of a reserve tank possibly. Slower traffic merging high. We are caution free out here tonight in our monthly race for Pad. Amazing race out here tonight. And in goes David Casey, John Henderson, Jack Watts in the pit row. Safe entrance. Good job, guys. Good job. I told you, folks, this is going to be where it's going to come down to green flag pit stop. I expect no tires to be taken by Dave. Just fuel. And it is just fuel for Dave. Dave out. Jack out. But Jack a little bit slower getting out of pit row. Dave is screaming, hurry up, Jack, because he needs him. Simple as that. John Henderson out in 2nd position. David Casey, John Henderson, 1st and 2nd. Jack Watts in 3rd. And I tell you what, these drivers in and out of pit row, awesome job, gentlemen. Absolutely impressive. That is how it's done, ladies and gentlemen. That was textbook. But I tell you what, they have got some company coming. They have got some serious company coming. They have got Jason Russo, Gary Whitmer Jr., I tell you what, folks, this is going to get good. Lap traffic of Ben Gear and the T24. And here they come. Jason and Gary aren't out of this yet. We've got about a 6-lap shootout. It is anybody's game out here. It is Dave Casey, John Henderson, Jason Russo, with the help of the lap traffic of Kevin Scott Nelson. Gary Whitmer Jr. on the outside, sitting in 5th position. Jack Watts on the inside, sitting in 4th. Kevin Scott Nelson, the odd man out. Kevin Scott Nelson, the T24, the lap traffic, but he is glued onto the rear end of the number 14, like a fat man glued onto a donut. Super exciting racing out here tonight, lap 95 of 100. You heard it right, ladies and gentlemen, 5 to go, and we are caution free here in our monthly Race for Pad. Can you believe it? I heard it was a rumor, then I found out it was the truth. We are caution free here in the Race for Pad. Jack Watts all over the 111. Got to be careful on these Silverados, they will turn. Jason Russo, he needs to get around that number 20. Needs to get around that number 20 and in front of. In a situation like this, folks, the inside lane has the advantage. David Casey leading 30 laps. Jason Russo has led 8. Gary Whitmer Jr. has no pusher. Gary Whitmer Jr. right now is in 4th position, but he's got no pusher. Dropping down to the inside lane. Lap 97 of 100. 3 laps to go. John Henderson thinking about that 3-wide action. This is going to be an interesting finish. Gary Whitmer still not out of it. Lots of things could happen here. Well, what if John turns to number 20? What if Jason slides down, clips John? What if the lap traffic takes them all out? What if Jack Watts still in it to win it? Ben Gear dumping the number 77 of Jack Watts. Jack Watts down to that inside lane. 2.5 laps to go. Jack Watts back up to that outside lane. David Casey side by side with Jason Russo. Right now it's coming down to who do you love. Kevin very dedicated to Jason. Kevin and Jason part of Team Kickin' Asphalt. Jason coming down in front of David Casey. I tell you what, I do believe David Casey is part of Team Asphalt, Kickin' Asphalt too. So I don't know, Jack Watts may not have a chance. Gary Whitmer Jr. Ben Gear has got to get up there to Gary Whitmer Jr. Get him up there past the 111. Lap 99, 1 to go. Jason Russo on the inside. Kevin Scott Nelson, lap traffic on the outside. Kevin Scott Nelson could control the outer lane. Jack Watts is the lead lap traffic. Slight contact right there between the 111 and the 77. That was a little scary. Jason Russo giving it everything he's got. David Casey pushing on him hard as he can. This might be Jason Russo's night, ladies and gentlemen. Jason Russo, David Casey. What a finish. There's going to be a wipeout. Tough break there for Gary Whitmer Jr. And we have got Jason Russo, Dave Acacia, and John Henderson What a race. What a night. Jason Russo bringing it home in the monthly race for Pat. And I tell you what a finish that was out there. Most impressive. A lot of fun and a great race out there tonight. We're going to talk to a couple of our finishers up here. How about it, John Henderson? Have you got a copy?
Go ahead.
Did my eyes deceive me, or did you get third?
I did get third.
Well, tell me all about it.
Well, I'll tell you what, it was a good night. Worked with my teammates, the 20 and the 14. And we got separated, got all back together, and that was a total kicking asphalt team effort to get there to the end.
And I tell you what, tell me a little bit about the team.
Well, I tell you what, I'm the newest member, and I tell you, they've taken me in underneath their wing, and some great guys, Dave and Kevin Nelson and Jason and Pat. I tell you what, they have taught me a lot about this iRacing stuff, and I'm so proud to be part of the team.
Well, I tell you what, you did the team proud. Good job, good teamwork. God bless you, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Have a great day.
All right, how about it, Dave?
Hey, Scott, how about kicking asphalt? 1, 2, 3.
I'm telling you, you guys were out there kicking asphalt. I love it. I love it. Tell me a little bit about your night and how it actually did work out that you did get a 1, 2, 3.
Well, we were running good. You know, we were going to take it easy in the beginning, but the way the initial start was somebody blew an engine, and it opened the field up, so we were up further than we wanted to be. At one point, I'm sure you saw my John the 111 turn me in the corner. I ended up like 6-7 seconds behind, and we made up that time. So, you know, from there, it's just let it rip.
All right, well, I tell you what, you got to be really proud. You're going to have to make sure you get a hold of the boss man, Paul, and tell him all about it. What do you think?
Oh, yeah, I'll send him a little text later on.
All right, copy that. Great job out there tonight, Dave.
All right, thank you.
How about it, Jason? You got a copy?
I got you, Scott.
I am utterly, amazingly impressed. Tell me about the last 100 laps.
Oh my God, what an awesome race this was. Great job by everybody involved. Clean racing and some incidents that we all came back from, and turned out to be a really good show.
Now tell me a little bit about kicking asphalt, because you got a 1, 2, 3, and tonight you guys were kicking asphalt.
We were big thanks to John Henderson and David Casey, and even Kevin Scott Nelson helped out a little bit tonight. We all worked together, and teamwork prevailed.
Teamwork and a lot of communication. Now let's talk about the lap traffic, because you had, I do believe it was the number 4, and the number 4, he had to stay in front of those leaders, because as soon as those leaders, and then Dave went out there to the outside and put him down a lap. How was the communication level right there with the number 4 trying to stay on that lead lap?
Not a whole lot of communication with the 4, but Donald Stewart in the 78, me and him, once we got together, we were able to get a little bit of a train going, and then we moved to the front, took pit strategy, and brought it home.
All right. Well, I tell you what, you did your team proud. You did KMA proud. And you did Pad very, very proud. Great job, caution free tonight. Good job, Jason Russo.
Thanks, Scott. Appreciate it.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, wow. Imagine that. Caution free racing. We're going to take a quick look at those results out there tonight. Again, a 1, 2, 3 finish for Jason Russo, David Casey, and John Henderson. Jack Watts pulling down 4th, and Gary Whitmer Jr. pulling down a solid top 5. A little bit of mayhem there at the end, but I tell you what, I believe everybody can say that it was a tremendous race, an awesome race. 20 top-notch drivers out here doing it to it. You got to be proud of these guys. I know I'm proud of them, and I hope the fans enjoyed it. Because I tell you what, it was a good night out here tonight in the monthly Race for Pad. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I am Scott Kolovic. We're going to sign off out of here, and we'll catch you out there on the next one. You guys have a good night.